We are live once again. We're going to do another inking session. This is a new page I did today. My pencils are kind of loose, which is fine, because I'm just going to finish it in inking. So I feel like I don't need to go crazy on the pencils. I'll just do the rest of the work in the ink. If I were working in the comics industry, my pencils would be very, very tight. It's crazy. I haven't worked with a lot of inkers yet, but like some of them, if you don't tell them exactly what to do, they don't know. And to me, I'm like, if you should know how to draw, dude. Like, I don't know. I guess not everyone is on the same page. So if I were to, this might be too thin. If I were in the comics industry, the time it takes me to pencil and ink a page would be the time that I would have to put into just penciling one page. And make sure every single stroke is there. And it's kind of weird because you actually draw the brush strokes, Yeah, it's just it's a comics thing. Anyway, I'm not so sure I'm digging this music, to be honest. Can never tell if you guys can hear it or not exactly. It's kind of low, so probably not. Hmm. Last night's show was epic. Hey, Renee Gonzalez, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? What's shaking? Yeah, this one's a little dry. Get another one. Last night was a fantastic show. Luke Mason was on. I need to have him on like every show because the conversation and the energy is really, really good. It's really fun. Like he brings out a lot in me. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not crazy. Can you hear the music in the background, Renee? And my channel's here. Keep your head down. Going live and all that. Yeah. Okay. 5 times 5. Why are you saying 5 by 5? I don't know. I don't know. Paint some bready pictures. It's funny you should say that because I've got stacks of paint tubes. I've got tons of paint, and I don't really paint because I do this, and I miss painting a lot. And I feel like I've lost. Painting's hard to do. Painting involves color, and there's a lot of technique and various aspects to it that it's its own thing. But I don't know. It's kind of a dream of mine to get back into that. There's also the whole like who's buying paintings, you know? Like not really. It's like you better just give them away, you know. Um, I bet you'd be better than that Picasso. You know, that's an interesting. That's a very interesting point you're making. Picasso, when he was quite young, like a teenager, already. Now his dad was a an art teacher, so he had the advantage of having that, you know. But in his teens, he could already paint realistically in a very masterful way. And it's said that his father gave up painting because his son was so good at it. And I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, it is said. And then, and this and that, the blue period, and it just kind of degenerated more and more as the kind of modern art thing came into play. I don't know. I would like to know more about. I mean, I know just topical things about Picasso. The art world makes him out to be like this, the great romantic genius, and you know, young wives and all kinds of wealth and Picasso, you know, like he is supposedly the ultimate, like the peak of all artists. And then you look at his work and you're like, children could do this. And turns out he really stole a lot of his ideas from African sculptures. Like he was just essentially painting in the African sculpture style. But the art critics had to be like, oh, it's this, that, and the other thing, and make up all kinds of fancy excuses for this, you know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, so like a lot of the impressionists were inspired by the colored prints from Japan. So at the time there was a lot of mm, stuff that was just imported from Japan, and the Japanese would use um oh shit, I mean they're newspaper prints that have like nice, it's called ukiyo-e. It's a type of woodblock carving, and they print it on their newspapers, and they'd just be simple landscapes and various things like that. And they would pack these boxes to like make sure that the pottery didn't break, they would crumple up the paper. And then in places like France, they would unpack these things, and then they'd open up the newspapers and see these prints. And that there was just something about the colorful quality of it that they liked. And so people like Van Gogh and the rest of them were influenced by that. Van Gogh specifically um, had a kind of a he referred to the Japanese style like on and off through his life. He painted himself as a Japanese monk once, which is a very, very beautiful painting. Um, anyway, just little tidbits of art history for you. No extra charge. Western Kind is here. What's good, folks? About the African art equals Picasso. I'm getting the notifications revanced client on Android. I don't know what that means. But there you go. So I am inking some shotguns. Uh, anyway, um, yeah, man, I had such a great time with Luke. last night. I actually did send him a link to join tonight as well, and I'm kind of hoping he's free. It's not likely that you're like that lucky 2 nights in a row, you know. It'd be great fun if he could jump on. But we'll make it somehow. Don't you worry. Um, can you guys hear the music in the background? It's kind of a synth wavy type thing. Synthwave action. Something I learned last night that I thought was interesting is that my show, and I didn't know this or plan this, but it appears to be just after Jason Kuna's show. I forgot. Maybe it was Western Kind. Somebody said, I finish his show and then I come over here and enjoy your show. And I thought, like, oh, it's a nice little evening right there. Excuse me. Probably very different. I mean, I've watched tons and tons of Jason's shows, so I know generally how they go. What I can't believe is like how he can do these marathon. I mean, how many hours does he stream a day? It's crazy. Marathon runner. Um. So excuse me. I was on what's it called? The after party when Jared George was on, and I had those guys on. I had a show called Afternoon at the Museum, and it's just me, going to like the websites of well-known museums, and we just kind of it's like a virtual walk through the museum, but with folks in our sphere, and that way, we can kind of have some of that experience of you know seeing our own art, the art of our history, and get to talk about it and such. Again, it's meant to give the feeling like we're walking through an art gallery, art museum together. And then I use my background in in art to talk about how to critique art, how to look at art. In many cases, I know a lot about the works that we're looking at, and so that makes for a very culturally enriching show, very informative. Um, let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna have to peek at the chat for a sec. Scroll up. Okay, whatever. Anyway, Western Kind says I had another idea for a character in a comic. Oh, cool. What is it? It would be a vampire mohel that can smell newborns whose blood that he seeks. I don't know what a mohel is. A mother, maybe? Is that I don't look at what you're spelling there. I saw that you had around 10 viewers when I joined yesterday, which was fairly good for this stream. I know it was my conclusion that those coming out of viewing the Go Free stream came on. That's kind of what I'm alluding to here is that I feel like, I mean, I wouldn't be quote stealing, viewers, but that it maybe if I time the show in a certain way that could, I could just, pick people up from there. This particular stream is very much like an after party. You know what I mean? It's ironically, right? I didn't even think that's. No, I mean, I was just talking about the after party with Jason George or sorry, did I say Jason George? I just mixed those two guys into one person. Jared George and Jason Kinna. Oh my God. Um, that would be wild. Anyway, yeah, I would love that. Very, very great people in Jason's community. Um, just, solid, straight shooting folks, good folks, it's not called the white positive community for nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that'd be awesome if people came, from there to here. Uh, take a look at. There's a message here. Pronounced Moyel. Jays have men dedicated to Darada in Mitsuzaza, and Moyel suck da 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 da. Yeah, that's some really nasty stuff. So like, I'm not gonna. It's not really a thing I would like to discuss. But I think you've got the kernel of an idea there that is probably worth exploring. Um, I think you could even take it even farther and look at. I don't know if do you know anything about blood libel? Do you know anything about? Oh boy, there's some dark rituals that exist in that quasi religion where they kidnap Gentile boys and do their blood rituals on them, and it's very harsh. I mean, I've researched it. If people don't research these things, they're pretty hard to believe that they're true. But these things have been going on for centuries, and there's all kinds of documentation that has been of this particular small hat tribe and their uh, these blood rituals that they have where they're murdering children. So, you know, then there's the whole Moloch thing. You know, um, it's someone who doesn't know this channel and doesn't know this community. What I'm talking about would probably sound like just wackadoo. Like what in the um, I wish it were wackadoo. I wish that it were not real. There's some horribly dark things out in the world there that you know they don't go away because you want them to go away. That you have to know about the truth of these things. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes literature, fantasy, the various types of you know I don't want to call it entertainment because it's not entertaining, but fiction. It helps to inform people of these things. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think you know what I'm trying to say. So um, I hope this isn't going to be a boring show. I just like this page isn't exactly very exciting. And I don't have my buddy Luke Mason here to bring the best out of me, but I got you guys. Vampire Moyel is not a far jump from original subject matter. Yeah, are you a writer, Western Kind? Do you do any kind of writing or something? You think that the writer for this current comic would like the idea of a vampire? Oh, totally. If I could tell you, I can't. Everything is there's a lot of hush hush things going on here that I just wish that I could get into. But God, if you only knew, like, that would be very, very, very fitting. Um, when finally this book does come out, I know you're going to be very, very pleased, all of you guys. When you get to read it and you know finally, like, get the entire picture of, like, what's going on with the story, and then all of the sort of the symbolism and the jokes and the esotericism and da 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 da. There's so much, um, so it's pretty cool. It's just, unfortunately, I can't go any faster than I am. You know. Um, so, like, um, I don't know how savvy you guys are, particularly to Jewish symbolism in film, but there's tons and tons and tons and loads of it. I would imagine you guys have enough, like, I don't know what the word is, like, general knowledge of such things that you could spot that. You can easily see things that are degenerate, but it turns out that the the you know our slave masters have lots of kind of symbolisms that they interject into things that it once you get to see these things, once you get to know these things, it freaks you out a little bit, because you start to realize that within Hollywood, they when they make films, I don't know what it's sort of like they're talking to themselves, like they're putting in Easter eggs and symbols and such that they know other other small hats are going to see that, they're going to get it. You know what I'm talking about? And so it's kind of trippy once you figure that code language out, and then you realize, damn, like, it's just creepy. I don't know how else to say it, but, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I need to keep going on that. You get the general idea. Um, but I don't know. For me, a lot of it is just like how deep it all runs. You know what I mean? Like, the esotericism of it, the coding of all these things. It's really, it's insane. Um, Only those who are really, really in the know, can kind of see these things, point them out, read through these things and the like. Um, every once in a while, I'll be in a situation where I might be with some normies, and something will come on TV, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's the Jewish symbol for X." And they'll look at me, and they'll look at the commercial or the movie, and they'll be like, "It is? Why is that in there?" Like, what? Why would they do that? That kind of, like, you know what I'm saying, right? Like that like they're just coming out of the Matrix kind of mentality. Like, what the fuck? Like that kind of thinking. And they're like, yeah, and then you expand on the point, and then next thing you know, you're starting to J pill people. I've noticed that, like, on some of the more normie friendly social media platforms, there's a lot of people that are coming out against Israel, regarding Palestine, and that's kind of setting a sort of stage, I guess, for other things, if you will. Um, so it's just cool to see that, there's a type of openness, I suppose, to critiquing our slave masters. I don't know if that openness is the word, but like we just seem to be in the time where people can do that. You know, or it's mainstreaming it, it's normalizing. Let's see. I'm gonna go read the comments here. Western Kind says, I write things whenever the inspiration strikes. As you have seen, I am inclined to spurt out essays when covering subjects that interest me. Very good. Without doxing myself, I located my last name appearing in cemeteries, perhaps somewhere down the line of my father, Polish, where there are J's. I don't know. What I am aware of is anti-white reality today. Yeah, there's a lot to say for kind of the simplification of our problems through the, anti-white as a dialectic. I guess I feel for myself excuse me the the damn thing is just so complicated and convoluted, and people are so desperately brainwashed that you've got to have some kind of dialectic that works for some kind of people. You know what I mean? That is maybe intermediary in some regard and not sort of straight out racial or religious or something, but more so than that, or at least as much, is that framing things as anti-white itself is like essential. It's essential, and you can just use that word like everywhere all day. There's just, oh, did you see that Super Bowl commercial? Yeah, that was extremely anti-white. It's so amazing how, like, you know how hateful they are about whites. I can't believe these anti-whites. They're fucking psychotic. Da da da, da, anti-white, 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 and you just use it and use it and use it, and then it just, yeah. You're right. It is anti-white. Like, people will get the hang of it, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it's not like some super complex word that has, excuse me, like you'd have some background in philosophy to understand it or something. Without okay, yeah, Chatelet, my best brother from France, is here right now. I would like to speak with a French accent because it makes me feel more intellectual, intellectually superior. No, I'm bad at the French accent. I think if I listen to someone talk with a French accent long enough, I'll warm up to it and ease into it, because I have to kind of pick up on, how do you say this, how do you say that, or whatever. I think one of the from an English ear, one of the kind of strangest things about the French accent is the way R is pronounced. It's very kind of soft and curved. Blah, 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 blah. It's it's like, and especially, like, it's pretty much like the opposite about like the way that the Irish use the R, which is really hard. Very, very hard R that they use. Um. Anyway, me and Fun with Accents by Donald Kent. So let's move on. We're having an interesting convo with Western Kind here. Here's here is one other consideration. People are automatically calculating cost versus benefit. They have intrinsic comprehension of the cost of questioning, examining the anti-white narrative. This is a good point. Time is better spent just learning about languages than attempting to sound like someone. Oh, but it's fun. Yeah, I wish I had time to do that. That's the problem. Damn, man, my brushes are all getting dry. This isn't good. Not good. Right in the middle of the show. Well, I've got some art supply money from Christmas that I haven't used yet. I think I know what I'm gonna buy. Gotta get me some more of these nice Japanese brushes. Turning Japanese. My name is Hiro Takayama. Yeah, that whole topic of what's the right way to red pill people, to become racially conscious and be a part of the movement and all that stuff. It's a it's a thing that we fight a lot over. We've there's been this discussion's been out there for quite a while. And you know me, of course, I'm not looking to start any fights or whatever, but I never do really anyway. I'm more of the like, this is an exciting thing to break down. Let's get into it. Like that's how I approach things. Like, oh wow, this is interesting. This is important. I care about this. Let's talk about it. And I never get into the like my way's better than yours, and if you don't follow me, then you're not my friend. That's I don't do that. Western countries being paid to study, populate, create the forces of the future. I don't know if I totally get the context of what you mean. Like, how is one being paid to do that? But see previous comments. Oh, the language about learning languages. Cost of questioning, examining. From as far as I can tell, I feel like the whole question of normalizing white well-being is all about just that, normalizing it. So like making it okay to talk about. um the point I'm trying to make here is just simply that I feel that our people are very, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't mean to say conformist, but conformist, meaning like if it's not normal to do it, then they won't do it. You know what I mean? And like it's not until everybody's doing something that they'll come out and do it. Um it's not, oh yeah, how do I put this? I'm a very independent type of person. I'm a sigma male type guy, so like that kind of behavior to me is really stupid and low. But if I talk about it like that, then I sound like I'm insulting, and now I'm the bad guy. But I I really feel that it'd be wonderful if people were less conformist and more independent minded and the like. You know what I'm saying? Um, but it's you got to give them some slack. My God, I mean the left owns the entire media landscape, and they pound their Marxist dialectic into our culture all day, every day. For me, pride and heritage has been the biggest factor. Being racially positive rather than attacking other groups. That I feel is that we need to do a lot more of that. There needs to be much, much, much more pro-white behavior, if you will, than anything else. Um, I think it's important though to do things like, like, I don't know, essentially say like, we want like an all white this or an all white that, whatever those things might be, and then fight for those things and demonstrate, like, see, you see how we're not allowed to have these things. So why? Like, what's going on in the system that doesn't allow for this, and how is it wrong? Because the whole forced diversity thing it's just white genocide, obviously. Um, and that, I think, would or could, open people up. But I find that, like, in normie social media, when I post really, really, like, pro-white kind of stuff, and there is more or less just, I don't know, just like Aryan pride artwork and things of this nature. I tend to get a huge amount of likes from that. So it's kind of like people secretly want to be pro-white, but it's not until someone else is that they kind of come out and are like, yeah, all right, I love that, that they support it. um Before I forget, because there's a lot going down in the chat now. um there's a recent report about, there was, I don't know how many, there's something like 70 black families in Georgia got together, or no, not 70, they bought 70 acres. There were like maybe 10 black families that bought 70 acres, and they wanted to build an all black community out, da 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 da. And the news came back that it was just a grift. Like, they used this to sort of, scam money off of people, and they never built anything. There's nothing there. It's just empty land now. So it's just another grift. It was just another hustle, just another robbery, another criminal minded scam, you know. And everyone says, like, oh, like, let's imagine if, a bunch of white people said, oh, we're buying all this land in the country to make an all white community, you know, the all hell would break loose, right? Um, but it's what we need to do, you know. Like, I don't have a problem with, um, like, a small amount of diversity. I don't have a problem at all with that. Um, I know. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to go too far down that road, but, like, we know that's not the reality we're facing. Yeah. So the value, cost benefit analysis tends to be very short term. Here's the description that I use on my account on Twitter. All peoples have the right to preserve their race and culture and to pursue their well being, including Western kind. We affirm the universality, uh, we affirm and universally apply this right. It can't get any better than that. I think, like, you know, if you put that in front of a lawyer, they'd be like, yep, we can use that. Because I always feel like we have to kind of approach this like a court case. Yeah, that would be the thing to do, indeed. So I'm about to change the commercial. Okay. Um, Natalia Romeo, welcome, 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 Natalia. Are you an artist, Natalia? Anytime I get someone new here, I always take a little break to do like an art show, basically. I'll show you some other pages I've got, and you can enjoy and hopefully subscribe. Um, Quite a lot going on here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you one of my comics. The one that you're looking at that I was just doing is someone else's story that I'm getting paid for. But this is one of my stories, and it's called Militiaman. And this is some of the art for the cover. I think the cover itself gives one of the. This is a cover I'll use, but I'll have several covers. I think there's enough information in this image that you can get a sense of the story. Western Kind says the only rights that you have are the ones that you can defend. Yes. Um, yeah, like a piece of paper doesn't protect you. You know, you have to have the ability to protect your rights by force if necessary. Western Kind United, it is defending a right or simply taking an action. The material outcome is what matters. Hello, Robert Pyle. Um, Good to see ya. Pyle says, I grew up going to multicultural school and having all kinds of different friends. I have no problem with other people, but need to be around my own now. Yeah. When I go do my clubbing in the city on the weekends, it's, very, very diverse. The guys that I spar with are diverse. When I say diverse, I mean they're not white, essentially, or half white or something. And I mean, it's a case by case situation. House music is a very positive kind of music. It's not hip hop, it's not like that kind of garbage. And like there's like, you know, people of color on the house scene that are way cooler than say white guys on the drum and bass scene, for example. Like those guys are more just kind of scumbag druggies essentially in a lot of cases. And I mean, I'm not saying everybody in drum and bass is a scumbag druggie. That's not what I'm saying. But where I live, it seems to tend to attract that kind of person. So it's not as much fun. But yeah, that doesn't mean I don't want to help them or don't sort of identify or recognize their plight. Um, when I see poor whites acting black, that's a kind of to me that's a shame. I think that's a terrible thing. It's like this is the way you're supposed to act when you're ghetto, and somehow or other they think it's cool. Well, it might be cool among black people, maybe, but it's. I've literally told white guys that talk black with me, I literally would just say, stop talking like that. I'm not from the ghetto. You're not impressing me. Just stop. And then they go back to like normal white English, and it's like, it's kind of wild. It sort of shocks them to hear like a white guy stand up and say, don't talk black to me. Like it's stupid. There's no, you're not getting any respect out of me from that. Like, just don't do that. Um, And they go, oh, wow, yeah, I am acting. I'm putting on a show here. Why am I doing this? It's silly. All right, I need a very specific marker. Where the hell is it? Yeah, oh, that'll do. Indubitably. So, my channel says, is it possible that the concept of rights is something that could be of utility to great to get people on board with promoting white well-being. This is my perspective, dude. Let me comment to that. So, like, the thing I've been doing a lot of is I keep repeating this, and I think everyone in our movement should use this. I keep saying that, you know the how do I phrase this, like, the anti-white genocide movement is a human rights issue, or white genocide is a human rights issue, or the white identitarian movement is a human rights issue. And when you keep over and over and over and framing what we do as human rights, it you can see how that's everything. Um, our enemies are just masterful at like disemboweling us with dialectic and words and political propaganda and on and on and on. So we have to maintain and hold on to the center and say, no, this is a human rights issue. We are fighting for our existence. This it's we have a right to exist. If we talked about Tibetan genocide, or you know Native American genocide, or all of those things are seen within the context of human rights. Why are we not using human rights as a part of how we talk about what we do? It's very simple. So one of the most major issues that we have is that people we don't whites don't have legal representation. We are not a demographic that is acknowledged by the government, whereas we are fuck 50 years deep in law, giving people of color all kinds of rights and special treatments. Yet, of course, they can't, they still can't build civilizations like we can. Even while they're riding on our backs, we continue to keep our country moving ahead, and on and on and on. So it's fucked up, but whatever. That's the deal. That's the situation we're living in. But yeah, I want to urge everyone to start incorporating human rights into, or this is a human rights issue, human rights movement. Incorporate that into your conversations about what we do, into your posts and the like, and normalize it. You know, I mean, if you run into someone who's super super anti-white and they're going off on you, with the usual bullshit. Well, whites did this and whites did that, and therefore your time is up, and blah 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 blah, and you know how fucking sickening they are, how hateful they are. So then you just simply say, this is a human rights issue. Whites have a right to exist. This is a human rights issue. Whites have a right to exist. This is a human rights issue. Whites have a right to exist. Because these people, they're just robots. They're NPCs. They just repeat the shit that CNN tells them, that Salon Magazine tells them, Huffington Post, uh, blah blah blah, on and on. Right. So you're not gonna change their minds per se, but the people watching and listening, they're the ones that are impressionable. When other whites who are scared can see that you are standing up and you know what you're talking about, then it won't be long before they come over. They get into our world, and I think we've already seen that. That's happening more and more and more. I'm really not digging this music. I got to do something about this weird music. Can you guys hear my music? Is it- um, mm, Except for the dead space there. Maybe a little bit of house music to lift up the mood. Let's see. Even if rights are imaginary, then the concept still can be of utility. Rights are something granted by a king to someone else, his subjects. If we are acting from sovereignty, then bottom line is it's a question of what one does or does not do. Plus, it's compliance with these things. You know, if we refuse to comply with our rights being taken away or being coerced into various things, you know. Welcome, Canal Random XD. Canal Random XD. How you doing? So you have stumbled into the Donald Kent Zone, and my channel, like this particular show, is just live streaming comics art. Um, but if you snoop around my channel more, you'll see I've got a lot of cool content, some original music. I have a lot of guests on, interviews and such. But this particular show, excuse me, is more laid back. A lot of interaction. Tony Fu is here. What marker is that? I just set it down and now I can't find it. Isn't that funny? They say it might be ghosts. Maybe I have ghosts or tricksters or something. The one I was using is the Micro Tip Brush Pen by Ink. Uh, so whatever that is. Where did it go? Damn. See, you get distracted, and this is what happens. Who Man, Colorable Man. So you guys are off and running on the chat there. Knock yourselves out. Donald, Dr. Duke said this and titled his radio program Human Rights Radio. I love it. Okay, awesome. I should get David Duke on this show. That'd be a great. I'd love that. That'd be totally awesome. It was just having a discussion about David Duke and how like he's not on Twitter, like Jared Taylor, for example. And how bullshit Elon Musk is, you know, like it's all this like free speech, yeah, bullshit. You're not. You work for Israel, you know. I found it. Woohoo! Anyway, a girl named Anna rants about Riker. I guess I'm losing touch with the chat. Can't hear much. No. All right. Well, that's fine. If that's the case, I could probably just put on like Rolling Stones or some kind of music that I normally would get a copyright hit for. So welcome to the new folks here. Like I say, these comics art streams are sometimes they're really like crazy and funny. Sometimes they're really laid back. Sometimes they're very philosophical and sometimes very political. And it's just kind of all over depending on who the guests are, who's in the chat, you know, what's happening in the news. There's a lot of hot takes. I get very, very intelligent people that follow my channel. Very top-notch people in the white identity community, and so you're always bound to have some really interesting, informative, and sometimes transformative conversations. My fans will tell you that I get pretty weird on topics like UFOs and just all kinds of things to do with spiritual metaphysics, esotericism. I'm very interested in those things. Every once in a while, we'll nerd out and talk about kung fu, which I've done for a long time. I have a friend who I recently ran into again. I studied kung fu with him for a long time, and he found another teacher. This guy has actually this other teacher's pretty far away, and he had to like go across state to learn these specific martial arts techniques from this special teacher. And he explained to me that like it's the best stuff he's ever learned, and then he's going to show it to me sometime soon. I have to I just have to set up some time to get together with him and then learn these new techniques. I'm super excited about that. um yeah. Okay. Gerald Draper's here. Hey, welcome, Gerald. Cadaver 82 sent what you can afford to send. No White Guild, though it's for crack and maybe a motel room. Okie dokie. Let's see. My channel, I hear Donald clear. Oh, no, I was asking before, like, can you hear the music in the background? Because sometimes I blast it because I want you guys to enjoy the show and just have like more stimulation. Just makes it kind of more fun to have some music in the background. But other times, like tonight, I'm kind of feeling a little more on the mellow side, so I don't want to have to yell to be heard. Um, it's okay. Western Kind says, just as a thought experiment, hypothetical, we could imagine that you somehow managed to win a shooting war. Not long after the population would be made into self-destruction like before. So that's I mean, I'm familiar with the idea of that. I think it's a little negative or dark, but honestly, how could we rebuild ourselves as a nation or a people without the love of who we are and the I mean, this is part of how our enemies have overcome us is that they've atomized us. They've turned everybody into an individual, and there's no longer collectivism. There's no longer culture, group identity. Everything's about you know shopping for things, and this is not totally true, but it's painfully true in a lot of cases. Like Jared Taylor was interviewing whites at a Trump rally, saying, what do you think Trump is going to do for the white man? And they were all like, "Oh, well, I'm just concerned with the economy." Like that's horrible. That is death right there. That's just death. That's what the hell are you talking about? I mean, yeah, it's great that the gas is low and we get a big tax return and everyone's working. And that's fine, but that's about the health of the people and the nation, and you know what I'm trying to say. So I just heard some news that Trump is meeting with Tulsi Gabbard uh, to potentially have her as a vice presidential candidate. And I mean, I'm kind of changing the topic a little bit, but like, I could see how that would work, especially against Michelle Obama. You know what I'm saying? Because like, if it's going to be like if it's going to hinge on like the female vote, that like the future survival of America is going to depend on the female vote, then and I honestly don't think Michelle Obama has a chance, but it's I don't know. They're just variables. It's all variables. I didn't really come to a good conclusion on that one, but it should be interesting to see how it plays out. When the minds are subverted, then the whole body and destiny is captured. True. People can believe they're free through rights. Exactly. When's the last time you went to Mars? Well, Okay, Flash says, "Yeah, let's have a party." Woohoo! Mm, okay, so this, that, and the other thing. All right. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do with the arts is create moralizing culture. I'm one freaking guy on the internet. Like, what the hell power do I have? Um, the power I have is you. Actually, it's your engagement. It's your coming to these shows. It's your telling other people about the shows. You know, it's all about the audience, right? If you don't have an audience, what are you? Like, it's just a voice in the void. Um, what I've discovered is, like, say if you look at, say, Nick Fuentes, for example, a lot of what he's about is, you know, outside of, say, the true thing on the Jews and like this, that, and the other thing, he says shit that is sort of shocking to most people. And I think that that's what people want is they want someone who is going to say super based things, and in a way that's like, I don't care what the consequences are of this. I mean, this is what I'm going to say. And it's an oddball thing for me because, like, I'm not a Groiper, and I'm not like a Fuentes guy per se, but you know, I agree with a lot of his points, a lot of his talking points. Not totally against him. I'm totally not. He has a kind of a, oh, I don't know what the word is. Like, he wants everybody to be Catholic, like, be Catholic or die kind of thing. He's got like a Catholic Sharia thing going on, which is a bit much. I'm not, whatever. I had this discussion on some of my other shows about, like, how religion and spirituality are intimate, personal things and not, you know, things that I think should be enforced on people in society. But yet at the same time, it's precisely that. It's like the loss of these values and having a spiritual core that is the downfall of the West. Tony Fu says, "Thou great star, what would be thy happiness if thou hadst not those for whom thou shinest?" Is that Shakespeare? Sure sounds like it. This is an excellent quote. Um, yeah, yeah. So, but the point I'm sort of getting at here is, it's like people want entertainment. They don't want answers. And that's a shitty thing to say, but I find it to be true. They kind of want to be part of a culture where they can feel like, yeah, man, I'm cool. I'm based, man. I'm badass. Look at me. I don't care. You know. And that was sort of fun to be like that in 19 it's a 19 in like 2017 or something, and like, like, calling out the libtards and stuff, but like, we have to get way beyond that. We have to be more like community minded, I feel, you know. Yeah, that's white positive community minded. That right there is a nice kind of title for it, if you will. Beauty, Nietzsche. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. It's funny when I think of Nietzsche. I always kind of feel sad for him. Like, I feel like here's a guy that is genius, but like, he just seems terribly unloved. Like, did he ever have a girlfriend in his life or anything? He just seems so, like, he's got that, like, Ryan Gosling Blade Runner sadness about him. You just wish he had a girlfriend. You know. Poor Nietzsche. There's a concept for a story. Nietzsche's girlfriend. Um, hmm. The founding fathers of this country. Let me check this out here. Were not Catholic. No, I believe they were deists. So I don't understand that position in trying to get back to the traditional America founding roots. Yeah, yeah, that's certainly an argument right there. One can have. Nietzsche was pursuing Lou Salome for years, and she repelled him. I didn't know that. That hurts. He went to the brothel. Yeah. So like I know a lot about uh Van Gogh, and he he was in love with his cousin. I know that sounds crazy, but like I don't know, like that's just a thing that he like, and he wanted to marry her, and that's an awful thing to say, but she rejected him, and like he was just not liked by women. Like he was very intense and kind of weird, and maybe not the most attractive guy or whatever. Uh Very religious, which isn't a sort of a bad thing or an abnormal thing for his time, especially. But oh, there was one woman that I'd say like she was the closest thing that he ever came to in terms of like having a wife. Um she can be seen in like the Potato Eaters paintings, and it was a situation where I don't know if she was just desperately poor, and she had a child, and so Van Gogh took it upon himself to take care of her and the child with whatever meager means he had, and they lived together, and I think that men have this thinking that like if I save you or I take care of you, then you'll love me. And that's one of the worst, most painful traps that men fall into. You know, it appears I think they did have some kind of relationship, but it just it fell apart as things do. Very sad. Yeah, I know about his sister taking care of him. I is here. Oh, I didn't see I. Hello, I. Welcome. Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. You may be onto something. It is apparent that he is a good fundraiser for anti-white ADL, playing the role of the villain in the anti-white narrative. That then Jews can cite him claiming persecution. Who's him? Like, who are you referring to? I'd like to know. Um, Chasing women is so time consuming. Dude, that's such a funny thing that you should say that, because like I've you know, you guys know me, like I got a lot of projects going on. I'm like, super art man, like a content producer man. Like I got a lot of things going on. Not to mention other stuff, just life stuff you guys don't even know about. But and it occurs to me every once in a while is like, shit, man, if I get a girlfriend, like where am I gonna find time for her? That's not good. Like, how am I gonna manage that? Um I just in my head I sort of feel like, well, like I want a woman that can just be satisfied hanging out, and like doing whatever. Do you do your art, I'll do my art, and we'll stop for dinner and, you know, take a break once in a while together, and, you know, do some normal things, go grocery shopping together and cook meals together. Um other things together. But like one thing I like, so like these what do you call them? Those dating apps, you know. A real common trope is like the woman that almost all her pictures are her with her friends, and there'll be several pictures of her with a glass of wine, you know, and like, and they all love to travel. It's always, I love to travel, and like, you know, it takes time and money to travel. Like traveling is not something that I would call like a hobby, you know, unless you're freaking filthy rich. So it's sort of a way of saying like pamper me, and you know, spend a lot of money on me, you know. That's what that says, you know. Like yeah, people travel, fine, whatever, but for Christmas or you know what I mean, or something like that, you know. Maybe for a concert or something, but, like, one thing I just can't stand is this notion that, like, men are supposed to be the like, we're supposed to just entertain women all the time, you know, like, "Make me laugh, take me out, make me happy, I be," you know, "You're supposed to be there to make me happy, it's all about me," that kinda, like, shit, and I'm like, "I'm not just not," you know? You have to be happy in and of yourself as a human being, like, which is called maturity. So, like, if you need a few more years to get there, that's on you, you know? And a lot of times I think that women don't want a relationship. What they want is a poodle, you know, that something, a cute little creature to put a leash on, you know, and that can't actually talk back to them, you know. Yeah. And I'm referring to like these these ones on like these apps, you know, high maintenance ones. Um, can I zoom in? I can zoom in. How about that? Um, okay. Oh, I got a lot of talking going on here. I can just stop for 1 second. I can't keep up. You'd be happy to know that under my leadership, this problem will be solved for you. Okay. Arranged marriage, huh? Oh, that's a hot topic. Um, let's see what else we got here. Um, you all get 11 out of 10 trad wives. I gotta go run, Aaron. Okay, Robert, we'll see you. Um, when I lived in Taiwan, the homestay family I was with, the father and mother had an arranged marriage, and that kind of, I don't want to say it freaked me out, but it you know, it was really something to me because I'm like, wow, man, this shit's like, this is really third world. That's really going back, you know. Um, and they were quite a bit older, and they were kind of coming to terms with the fact that their marriage is kind of dead, you know, that it's like just a business relationship or something. And they're unhappy, and you know, it was just a topic that my homestay brothers were talking to me about, and like, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, it's a thing to talk about, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm not. I can't say that I could jive with arranged marriage. I think some kind of eugenics has to happen. We have to have some kind of programming. What that is, how it pans out, I can't say 100%, but we have to have something. You know, I like the idea of bringing back like dance socials and like the things that our parents or grandparents used to do. Um, the truth of the matter is, most men and women are really just going to hook up with someone who is kind of on their scale of how attractive they are. Like if it's just a kind of a natural loss almost. Yeah, there's variables and you know things that can change, but I recommend looking up a website called The Illimitable Man, by Rollo Tomasi. And there's all kinds of articles in there. The Dark Triad, um, talks quite a bit about hypergamy, and it actually, that website, believe it or not, led me to the alt right, which consequently led me here. Over time. So yeah, I was going through hell with my divorce, and I needed I needed something. I needed information, that kind of restored I don't know, my health and well being after all this abuse and shit. And you're brought up to be like, men are supposed to be nice and don't be a jerk, and then women take fucking full advantage of that. It's like, and it doesn't make sense to us to be like, okay, be a freaking total asshole, and then she'll love you, or like the marriage will work. Like, that's completely counterintuitive. Um, I'm sure there's a lot of women that would agree with that, but anyway. Whew, so this page is just about done, I'd say. Have to erase some of the pencil, but I think we're ready to move on to something more action filled. So that was page 15, 17. Try to do this in sequence. Hold on, guys. I only have two hands. All right. What is it? This page 15. This is 16. All right. We are jumping into action, folks. Jumping into action. Yes, sirree, Bob. All right. Here we are. Didymus is here. Aaron Russo was an Italian, I thought. What the fuck? Wiki early life says he was a J. Aaron Russo? I says women are different these days. Thank the Jews for women's live. Even a Jew like Aaron Russo pointed it out in the 90s. Like, he said, with his talks to Rockefeller. Sorry, Donald, for the. No, that's totally fine. You know, excuse me. I say it like I name them. I mean, I've done it on my show a bazillion times. My show isn't like big enough that people will come out and like shut me down and stop me. It's almost an advantage to not be big. You know what I'm saying? Then you're flying under the radar and you can speak the truth. If I once you get over so many followers, then that's when they notice you. But yeah, I always say that feminism is our enemy's greatest weapon. It's caused the greatest damage to to us. To turn man against or woman against man, it's like it's 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 assaulting nature itself. And think about all the children that you know, kind of grown up in this, and I mean, boys and girls that are affected by divorce, are affected by like these kind of anti-male narratives. Um, I it's a little heartbreaking, but I like to see these videos of these college girls that are like, fuck feminism. I want to stay home and take care of babies and cook and clean. Like we were gypped, we were tricked. We were disenfranchised. Yeah. So sad. Um, I know you guys are just gonna keep on rocking with the convo, and I can't keep up with this conversation. Otherwise, I won't get any artwork done. I'm just skimming here. Bro, I watch the incel streams sometimes, and those dudes have been absolutely mind raped by society. Incel streams, like which ones are you referring to? Are we talking about like lefty things or MGTOW or what are we talking about? As I've never been MGTOW. That's not to me. That's absurd. Um. All right, I got a problem. Okay. Um. So when I was in high school, being an artist, I, you know, you become friends with other creative people in school. And do you guys remember the movie The Breakfast Club, and how there was this one girl in the after school detention who was kind of a sort of a dark weirdo type girl. She made like a cereal sandwich and put all the sugar on it, and she's like not the cute redheaded cheerleader type, but more the sort of weirdo loner alternative rock, uh Smith's girl, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what the word would be for a girl like that. But anyway, um I became super close friends with a girl just like that, like the exact trope, in high school. And the main kind of connection that we both had is that we both wrote poetry. I was way, way, way more into poetry when I was in high school than now. If I'm writing poetry now, it's lyrics for songs. But at the time, though, this was a thing for me, and I didn't have any friends that were poets or that cared about poetry, and so it was an exciting time because she taught me a lot of about different poets and da 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 da. Addition to that, her mother was like a phenomenal painter, and so there was it's kind of like a quirky arts family, basically. So where am I going? So the thing about it though is that this girl and her friends, etc., they kind of got swept up by the feminism thing. And I can remember one of the girls had like a massive, massive crush on me in high school. And we ended up going to college, to the same college. So we hung out in college as well. And this girl happens to be like, actually, she was super, super pretty. She was like, could easily be a model. And she was bright and like, sensitive to the arts and all this stuff. But I don't know what it was. I felt I could sense that there was like some kind of mental issue. That she had like some sort of mental problem, and I just, for whatever reason, I didn't like go for her, And then at one point she started like physically attacking me, like assaulting me, And the circumstances, it's not so much necessary to get into it, but the this is kind of what I'm saying is like you get these girls that have weird emotional problems and like feminism scoops them right up. And so the moral of the story, if you will, essentially is that like we have to take care of our people. We have to, especially teenagers that are, you know, prone to who knows what, like any kind of mental, social, emotional, uh, I don't know, depression and the like, because I feel like Marxism is just perfectly designed to like scoop up these people and radicalize them. So even though, these people might not fit the kind of trad culture or what have you, and they might be, we would look at them as like essentially liberals. I really feel strongly that we've got to come up with some kind of strategy in the future to um incorporate them, to help them, to fix them, to stop them from becoming what they are now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, if I were king, oh boy, oh boy. Ooh, that's a dangerous thing to say. But like, I would tear feminism to pieces. Like, I would destroy it, like intensely. And it's kind of like not to say that like it's not this sort of like oppressive anti-woman wackadoo. What's the book with the handmaiden? It's not a trope. I'm talking about reuniting men and women in their natural way. Robert Pyle is back. Okay, Didymus says maybe her mental issue was that she wanted you and couldn't have you. Yeah. Um, it's definitely a piece in the problem. I came to find out later that she was sexually abused, and that she had some shit that went down in her life. I mean, we were very close friends. I don't know why I didn't like. I mean, she just gave herself to me. Like I could have easily been her boyfriend, and I think when I got to college, I was like, there's like a lot of girls on campus, and I went to high school with you, and I kind of want to give myself a chance to meet more people and just sort of see what happens and stuff like that. So I didn't kind of go through with it, if you will. Um, Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned or perhaps rejected. And I'm not. That's the other thing about me is like I'm not the like. Yeah, I'm gonna bang every chick I see. Like that's not who I am as a person. It's like, do I am I in love with this person? That's the question. Or do I have an emotional tie, connection? It's more than just physical attraction. But on the second hand, I think as a young man, I misconstrued sexual attraction for love though. And I don't know if a lot of if like this is a common thing among young men, but it was got me hurt a lot. That was a bad thing. Uh, okay, let's see, you guys. What are you talking about? Memphis, Memphis 78's here. Welcome. Thank you for joining the community here. We got a lot of cool people, a lot of cool convo. This tonight's kind of on a little bit on the serious side with the all this feminist Marxist stuff that we're talking about. Um, I was trying to come up with some stories that might be fun, you know. Um, oh, okay. Shit, where is it? Looking for something. Oh, there it is. Mm-mm-mm. So let's read the comments. We got Western kind social order, ostracism, pressure to comply needs to be enwoven throughout all of the society that ensures that proper conduct and attitudes are maintained. I was never interested much with dating girls that I met at community college. When I was there, most of the girls I met there were mentally ill. So this is the thing, man. Like, why are so many women fucked up? You know, and it's just it seems to get worse and worse and worse with every generation. That to me, that's the perfect way to kill a civilization. That is white genocide. Um, but I'm hearing what Western kind is saying, and that plugs into what I was saying about how whites, as a biospirit, if you will, we are what's the word like we need to function as a unit. We need to function maybe a bit more like we did in ancient times, where we needed a tribal unity that could help us survive. You know what I'm saying? Because we're back in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? Um, so like, I do kind of agree that there should be some stricter norms. Um, but I'm not. It's to me, it's the type of thing that it should be self-regulating in the sense of like it's not a type of thing whereby you would force these norms on people. Rather, you would show like, okay, we know as a people that in the past, when we don't do this or we did this thing wrong, that the consequences are thus, and therefore that is the motivation not to do the wrong thing. When you wake up after 10 beers and you have a evil headache and you're like, oh my god, I'm never going to do that again. Like, that's how people learn, through suffering. um there was a few girls there that were pretty cool, but most of them were already taken. Yeah, all the good ones are taken. Some of the single ones, though, I didn't even want to be friends, let alone. Yeah, it's a thing. A lot of trouble going on. I don't. I just don't like to see like rabid hatred of the opposite sex. I feel like people who are their brains are sort of poisoned in this kind of way. There's they got there's something wrong with them. Like, you have to really be careful around people like that. Granted, there's a reason why they're that way. I'm not saying that they're just being jerks or something. Somebody hurt them, you know, and they won't forgive them. They won't tolerate, what happened to them. But the problem is they take it out on all men, or you can't have a normal conversation without being kind of question, oh, what did you mean by that? What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that? And it's just it's like a mental illness in its own right. um yeah, it's just heartbreaking to see people hating on the opposite sex. But again, I always feel like this stuff doesn't exist for no reason. People get hurt, and this is how they express their pain. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. Mac is back. Oh yeah. Welcome to the amazing show. Uh, at the moment, we're talking about women. No, we're not talking about women. We're talking about how feminism has fucked up women, I guess, is what we're saying here. Um, a recent conversation got me thinking on this topic, though, that like, is it good or bad to kind of have this like, let's go back to the 1950s, like, or you know what I'm saying, like that type of, is that realistic? Is it unhealthy? What are your thoughts on that topic, guys? All right. Western Science says if a woman becomes a pariah who no one would interact with for divorce, etc., then she would not consider such actions constructive to social order. Women need a social framework to keep them in line. I totally agree. I totally agree. The weirdest thing is the idea that an entire sex could be a viable social or political unit. All the cross cutting cleavages might make it possible. I am on no nut. Okay. 1650s maybe. Oh god. I like females. I love women. But I treat everyone the same when I first meet them. If I have to be careful around them, then I treat them no different than I would a dude that I have to be careful around. Max has agreed, something more akin to Roman society. 1950s doesn't seem to appeal to women anymore. No. Um, I think that even trad women are kind of averse to that. Like, it's a sort of like the cat's been out of the bag for so long, or I don't know. It's a type of they feel like it would be going backwards. I mean, it would be for men too, in some regard. It's still it's a bit of a fantasy or a trope, I guess. Um, Nevertheless, it's it's something that exists in our culture and kind of a thing to talk about, you know. Um, let's see. Uh, oops. Matt, Western Kind says it's more ideal world you would have a wife from a marriage than arranged your father arranged between himself and another father in the community with whom you could. Okay, well, there's that. I would have 12 kids by now under such circumstances. Um, I feel a lot of the whole like the ability or inability to have 12 kids and the such is more economical than anything else. It's not, like I know a guy, he's one of us, he's one of our guys. Um and he's got 5 kids now, but he's poor as a church mouse. But he just keeps having kids. And he's like, God will provide. God will provide, like that's how he thinks. And I'm like, you're a fucking Chad, dude. Like holy shit. Like that's a wild way to see things. Hippocratic Oath says the more I think about it, I'm glad I got married young. Oh, fascinating. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Um, well, I can tell you, as someone who was very promiscuous as a young man, that I have a lot of regrets about it and a lot of scars, and that I'm not in hindsight, I'm not happy that I did that. Um, man, my head is just spinning with ideas. There's like so many thoughts. I just want to make kind of a little bit of a joke though that like in our sphere, in the far right, the dissident right, you can talk about blacks, you can talk about gays, you can even talk about the Jews, but don't under any circumstances talk about women. It's like, and I mean, I'm being facetious and goofy here, but like it's w- I'm all about unity. I want this movement to work. I want, you know, harmony among our people, and I respect women, da 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 da, all that good stuff. Um, but the elephant in the room is that there's a big problem in our community on this topic, and I'm gonna say that there's a lot of women that I know and love in the movement that have a lot of grievances about the way men behave in the movement. And now you and I might not behave like that, but I guess a lot of guys do. And so therefore there's this notion that if we're going to think of this as an actual movement, we should behave like it. And therefore there should be public and private kind of behavior that, like, if you're online and you're interacting with our folks, and it's something to do with whatever the cause is, whatever the topic is, then you should behave accordingly. You should behave in a way that, think about like people who are, say, normie conservatives, and they're trying to find out, well, what is the dissident right, like what's it all about. And then we all start acting like shithead edge lords who are just like, in a certain way, like essentially like groypers. Then it's going to be a massive turnoff. And that's kind of my point. Anyway, I'm not perfect. Work in progress. Lola Reinhardt is here. Welcome, Lola. Ian G is here. Hi, what's up? Are you drawing anyways? A little drawing. I will show you in a second. I'm just so happy that I got some new friends coming in. I'll tell you what, for Ian and Lola, I'm going to do a little art show. Let me back out and I'll pull out some cool stuff for you to enjoy in just a second here. Um, so I don't just do comics. I do fine art. I have a show on Tuesdays. Let me see if I can do this. On Tuesdays, I do a live art show, which is tomorrow. It's 1 o'clock Eastern. That is with a gentleman who goes by the name Patriarchs, and he's in the UK. And we pick a theme every week to do live art on. And this theme right here, this just wasn't on the show, but my fine art is much more thematic and symbolic. It's the concept of Western man being enslaved by various forces, and I think the symbolism kind of speaks for itself in this. So I'll move on. What you guys are tuning into is pretty much my comics show, of which I have a lot going on, and maybe give you guys a little taste of some pages. I'm gonna pull out some old pages from this project here, and they're gonna look kind of like this. So you can see. Oh, I gotta get the commercial off there. Anyway, just a little stroll down comic book art lane here as I show you different things going on in this particular story. Um, you know, it's the kind of thing that you'd really have to. I don't know. I can't give away all the information on the story, so I can't really talk too much about it. It's when it comes out, it'll come out, and it's going to be pretty awesome, though. But um, Western kind, that art book has some striking imagery. Um, Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Anyway, just giving you guys a look at. I really like this piece here. I think that came out pretty well. It looks nice. Um, got some robot fighting action going on here. We got a lady who has mind controlling powers. Um, we got some Russian soldiers shooting machine guns. We got some badass, kick ass fight scenes. We got some stories of various people and crazy situations. Um, Lola, how did you find this channel? I'm just curious. I'd like to, and Ian also, kind of interested to know how you guys got connected with the world of Donald Kent, the wacky, wacky world of Donald Kent. Yeah, just trying to get a connection with the origins of things. I spent all day doing controlled burns in the woods. Lots of fun, except for the smoke. Controlled burns. So what you're saying is you're burning down certain areas. You're clearing land. Is that what you're talking about? It's a controlled burn. All right. So we're back to this now. What are we doing on time? Okay. You know what? I think I'm just going to get right into the juicy stuff here. Have some fun with it. So this character, his costume can change. It's like made out of like nanites of like this, intelligent gold that can morph into different shapes. It's similar to Iron Man's suit in like the End Game period and stuff. Very high tech. So the anyway, I suggested to the writer, like, how about I design like he transforms into a new suit for this particular battle, and we can kind of keep expanding on the variety of what this guy can look like. And so he was game for that, which is cool. I think in comics you always want to try to create panels that have a really, really cool, iconic look and that could stand out. Like the panel itself could be, clipped for an advertisement or something. Um, the whole like jumping into battle scene image is high action. It's going to have a cool look to it. Yeah. Hmm. Um, you, you're talking about burning leaves and brushes. Okay. All right. Oh, God. Excuse me. It's got to be past 10. If I'm yawning like that, probably going to have to wrap it up here soon, folks. Ian says, do you like drawing? That is an excellent question, Ian. And I'm going to say, no, I hate it. It hurts. No, I'm kidding. I love drawing. Yes. Um, every kid draws. It's just that most kids stop at some age and then they don't draw anymore. But when I was studying to be an art teacher, I remember seeing an image of drawings from children around the world, and like little kids, like I don't know how old they would have been, 3, 4, 5 years old kids. And in all of these different regions of the world, these kids came up with almost exactly the same images for things like sun, moon, house, rain, fire, like cat, dog, simple kind of things. And so it's quite profound to think that there's something in human nature itself that lends itself or expresses itself in drawing. It's profound, right? I mean, you've got cave paintings. Mankind has been drawing since forever. Um, when you talk about art, nobody thinks about music or poetry or architecture. They think about art, drawing, or which is obviously not true. That that's just one of the arts. But we're visual people. Like, I mean, your how you process the world largely has quite a lot to do with like your visual senses. And when you walk into a room and you look around and you see certain kinds of people, and you look at them and you discern, like, is this dangerous for me to be here? Are they friendly or not? You have you when you're meeting someone in a work situation, or if it's a romantic situation or something, or we there's a whole world of visual meaning. Like, if I have a friend who's blind, and sometimes we'll talk about, like, what is it, he was born blind. What's it like to be born blind and not have any idea of what anything looks like? It's crazy. So drawing has some kind of primal nature to it that's a really important part of the human experience. Um, and I don't know. I mean, how it works is this: you do what you love. You do a thing because the doing of the thing is its own reward. You see what I'm saying? So whatever your hobbies are, what have you. Now, for me, like, it's a bit deeper than that, because what is the reward of drawing? Of course, yeah, obviously that it's fun to do or something, but the reward of it is that I have to express an idea, a feeling, a thought, an experience, a memory, a relationship to something in life. And if I don't express that, I have a terrible sense of existential angst, and it hurts. It's kind of a horrible, weird. I don't know how to say it. It's very hard to put into words. Um, so that's the thing. Yeah. And when you're young and you're becoming who you are, there's a lot of trepidation, a lot of doubt. It's sort of hard to know, am I an artist, or, like, there's just not to mention, like, a million distractions and responsibilities, and new emotions, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So it's being an artist, and in a visual artist, drawing, painting. I don't know. I consider it a form of shamanism, actually, that I am bringing things into life, into existence, that are in a way their own type of mythology, and therefore that is shamanic in nature, I think. And you are free to debate me on that. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Um, Having been born blind would be a really crazy trip, through this veil of tears. Oh God, tell me about it. That's well said. Drawing is the foundation of all visual art. Absolutely. Uh, Isis reminds me of how the tune to Ring Around the Rosary is found on every continent. Interesting. That's pretty interesting. Um, One thing that I enjoy of Picasso is how that he did not bother making figures symmetrically. In my sketches, in the rush to translate concepts into visual realm, I lack patience to draw symmetrically. Well, there's a lot to say in as regards Cubism, and the influence of that on Picasso. Picasso and Braque essentially created this movement of Cubism, which was fairly short-lived, but it was kind of like an experiment, a visual experiment of disassembling and flattening and spreading out images. It's interesting because it almost has a kind of a graphic design type quality to it. If you look at it, it's almost like collage. Um, I can enjoy Cubist paintings. I think they're lyrical. Um, I think that a lot of times we have a sense of like, oh well, it's degenerate. It's against Western tradition, and we have our variety of, and I no one's more outspoken on those things than me. So like, I'm not backpedaling, but rather saying that you can have an aesthetic experience from those things. Let's put it that way. Oof, just rubbing my eye here. Speaking of the shamanic, have you ever drawn a character based on yourself? All Not these guys because it's someone else's story, but all of my characters are based on me in some manner or another. Um, like they're aspects of you in a sense, right? Um, Even the villains, there's something. And that's a deep question, dude. You really actually just tapped into something right there. Damn. Because like I'm looking around my studio right now, I've got tons of art on the walls and a lot of my art, and I created this character here that I call him Saint Eon, like in ages and eons and a thing, and he's a he's I really like these kind of like Silver Surfer meets Doctor Strange kind of characters where they're magical and cosmic and have these things that kind of narrative identity to them, if you will. And his thing is, he hears the crying of humanity and comes to our planet to save humanity from itself, and he speaks in poetry. Like he doesn't ever say anything kind of normally the way that we would speak. He's just every time he speaks, it comes out as a poem. And he's really a spirit. He's not a man per se. He has a man's body, but in essence, he's a cosmic spirit of some kind. And he's got a really kick-ass superhero costume. So like when you see him, you're like, oh, that's pretty sweet looking superhero, Um, and then I have, the name American Zarathustra actually came from a comic book that I wrote and illustrated. So that's a character. That's one of my characters. And, the American Zarathustra comic was the name of the website, but I used that site as my place to put my other portfolio work and, promoted it. And so that it became my brand, Um, anyway, I'm just talking here. Contrary to my political feelings, I actually like nude descending a staircase. So that's what I'm saying. You can have an aesthetic experience from and that's totally fine. Uh, Oaf says Grant Morrison created a character based on himself, and he became deathly ill, just as his character. So he started being nice to his character, and things improved for him. Grant Morrison practices magic. I don't know if you're aware of that. Um, he's a pretty freaky dude. Um, like I don't think I could spend 5 minutes with him in a room, but at the same time, I give respect where respect is due in terms of his art, his writing, his thinking. Um, so but yeah, I would say that almost has like a voodoo type quality to it. What you're talking about, it's kind of trippy. Hmm. I listened to you as I did barbell curls, squats, and bench press. It assisted with passing the time. That's a good way to do it, dude. That is a smart approach to because like you know lifting weights and shit it's boring, like you need something, of course, people listen to their music and stuff, and that's all fine, but like I like to I want to have my mind stimulated, I want to learn something and think something and grow in some way, and just like dead space to me is intolerable. Like I can't do that, um so like the other night I was doing some kung fu routines, some old stuff that I learned in Shaolin, more or less just for strength training, cardio, getting back in shape kind of stuff. You know, winter's a bitch, but anyway, and I just got some house music on, and then got pumped up and had some fun with it. But then I like threw on like a kind of a there's a guy that I like to listen to his lectures, and I can listen and grow. You're trying to mod me? I'm Spooderman himself. Parker, it's Peter Parker. Spooderman. Awesome sauce, dude. Welcome to the community, my bro. I assume you're a comics fan, maybe, or where are you coming from? Like, what zone are you from? What neighborhood of the internet? I get quite a lot of people who are into comics and comic art that find this channel. I do put that in the what like the tags and stuff. Um, so hopefully the algorithm is kind of pulling in some people. I use Comicsgate a lot as a tag. Um, I feel like I can say that I'm Comicsgate because I illustrated one of John Delarose's uh, graphic novels, and so that's kind of my official Comicsgate card. Hi, Kat. I just comment. Welcome, Kat. Lovely to have you here. This is an upside down superhero. Turn him back up. I'm getting so many new people here that I gotta go and do my little art show for them because they just popped in, and I want them to get to know my work a bit more. So I'm gonna do a tiny little art show here. Go through some of the pages for Cats and Parker. So just a look at some of my comics. Now, this particular job I did not write. This is a paid job. It's a freelance job. So I did design the characters though, which is pretty cool. So I have ownership in that sense. You know what I'm talking about? Um, Western Kind says, no, he came here to read my chat essays. Ah, I see. Okay. You're subletting. Is that what you're doing? Anyway, uh, he knew that my extensive chat essays awaited here. Oh boy. Um, so there's a look at some interesting things. This page says a lot. These two panels alone say so much about the entire story. I don't know that you guys would know the history of this tribe, and because the clothing and the symbolism of the snake, and how years later the same tribe is now controlling Hollywood. That's kind of interessante. So that gives a sense of the context of the story. United in the caption now, in the captain now. So blah blah blah. This freaking how many hours am I showing you here? Like that's a pretty cool little bit right there. Um, like what what could I be doing with these hours? About 5 years ago, I had a dream of an entire graphic novel in one night. Wrote down the entire story the next day. Uh, and what did you do with it? You can at least publish a book or something. Flash says, if you don't hear from me again, that means I haven't made it. Uh, well, you're famous in my mind. Flash Gordon. Yeah, I like to me, Flash is one of the top artists in our sphere, and I'm not taking that back. Nope, you don't know him like I do. Great guy, great artist, a great mind above all, which is so wonderful. Gotta have your philosophy friends. I just wish I could be like at a cafe in France, you know, I don't know, drinking wine and talking with him about all of these aesthetic issues and political issues. And, I have this fantasy of being like in France in like 1880, with like all of these great Gauguin and, all of these great historical painters. I think my college kind of they instilled these sort of art fantasies in my mind. It's very charming though, indeed. But then talking about trying out an exotic blend of ramen. I'm gonna head on out. All right, Robert, you take care. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us. It's going on 11 o'clock where I am, so I'm actually gonna have to wrap it up as well. Yes, please do like, comment, share as much as you can. There's better shows than this one though. I was kind of a fuddy duddy tonight, a little low energy, but last night's show was freaking king, man. Well, it was funny as hell. So like, check that one out. Yeah. Anyway, I love you guys. You take good care of yourselves. We'll see you very soon. Okay. Adios and good night.